Okay, everybody, welcome to my Exam 1, Essay 1 video here. Our first topic for today is going to be what's called homeostasis. Now, homeostasis is essentially a process that our bodies have to help keep certain internal levels, such as you can put body temperature, blood pH, you can do heart rate, blood pressure. You can even do blood glucose, A1C. Essentially, just certain variables within our body and homeostasis, what it does is it controls those variables to make sure they stay within a healthy range so that our body can continue to function the way it needs to function. So we're going to explain how this kind of goes. So let's see. We'll do our graph first. So I have our graph on our y-axis. This is going to be what's our variable. So essentially one of these things. So let's use body temperature for this example. So I have our variable, and our x-axis, this is going to be time. Okay? So how a body regulates itself as far as body temperature goes, or with any of these, any variable that we have, it's going to find what's called a set point. And the set point is essentially the goal. That's what the body's shooting for. That's where it wants to keep its temperature. That's where it wants to keep its pH. That's the goal of where it wants. So for body temperature, this would be our set point on our graph. So what the body is shooting for body temperature, that is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's the goal. That's where the body wants its temperature to be. But obviously that's a very specific number that's very hard to achieve. So it's also determined what's called our normal range. So let's put some solid lines here. We'll go 99.6. I'll go 97.6. Excuse me. Okay, so our dotted line here, our 98.6, that's going to be our set point. And then this range here, that's what's called our normal range. So anything between our 99.6 and 97.6 for this example. I don't know if that's the actual range. That's just what we're going to use hypothetically. So if our body temperature is within this range, that's what's considered normal or healthy. Something a doctor, it's not going to worry about it. If our body temperature is not 98.6, say it's 99, the doctor's not going to worry about that. He's not going to stress about it, put you on any medications or anything like that. That's what's considered normal. So homeostasis, it has the goal of 98.6. That's where it's shooting for, but it definitely wants to keep our body temperature within that normal range. And so how it does this is it uses what's called a reflex control pathway. So essentially what happens is first thing we have is our receptor. Okay, box our receptor. What our receptor does is it detects our temperature, pH, whatever. We're going to stick with temperature at this point. So our receptor, that would be, let's put skin. So our skin, it detects a change in our temperature. So say we were at 98.6 and now it's starting to drop. So it detects that change and sees that it's going out of our normal range. And what it wants to do is send that back to its set point. So what a receptor is going to do is it's going to tell what we call is the control center. And our control center is usually the brain. So that's what we're going to use for this example, is the brain. So what the control center does, that's what determines our set point in the first place. So it has our set point determined, our normal range determined, where it wants to be. So our receptor is going to tell our control center, hey, we're getting out of our set point. And so it's going to do that via a afferent pathway. So in this case, it's going to be some sort of neuron, nerve. It's going to tell the control center, tell our brain via this afferent pathway, hey, it's getting cold right now. So we need to bring that back up. So control center detects that and it's like, oh shoot, yeah, let's get it back to set point. Let's try to take it back that way. So our control center is going to do, it's going to tell what's called an effector. So in this case, let's say it'd be our skin or muscle. So it's going to tell our effector via a efferent pathway. It's also some sort of neuron. It's going to tell our effector, let's say, so it's going to tell our skin, hey, you need to start to like erect our hairs, try to make it warmer. It's going to tell our muscle to start to shiver. So our effector comes into play, and that's going to take it back towards set point via shivering. And it's going to continue to shiver to where then all of a sudden we're getting too hot. So then we're going to go through that process again. Our skin, which is our receptor, is going to detect, hey, now it's getting too hot. So it's going to tell our brain via an afferent pathway that, hey, it's getting too hot. Our brain's going to detect that and be like, oh, shoot, yeah, we are. So via an efferent pathway, it's going to tell our effector again via our skin, hey, it's getting too hot. You need to sweat now. So it's going to release sweat, and it's going to start to cool it down, set it back towards set point. And usually it's just going to continue to do that. And this kind of process, or this loop, so this is our reflex control pathway, but this process, this is going to be what's called negative feedback loop. Right? So negative feedback loop, that's any time our effector is going to take it back towards set point, or take our variable back towards set point. So I'm going to put towards set point. Okay, or essentially it's going to be the opposite of this initial change. So that's going to be our negative feedback loop. It's just any time it's taking it back towards our set point. So here it's negative, going back towards our set point. Right here, also negative, going back towards our set point, negative. And that's just how our negative feedback loops work. So let's say it's not doing that. What if, and this is going to be for, say, like body temperature. It can be with like our blood glucose as well. Our blood glucose starts to get way too high. Our body's going to secrete insulin, which is going to bring our blood glucose back down towards its set point. But what would it be called if our body, we're going to erase all this. So we still have our set point here. What if our body, rather than right here, or say, let's just go right here. What if instead of taking it back towards set point, it just kept going? So if it continues to take it away from our set point, that's what's going to be called a positive feedback. And positive feedback, that's away from set point. Okay, so that's our positive feedback loop. Usually in our body, that is not too helpful. Say like we're getting too hot, and instead our body tells our effector, hey, continue to shiver. We're going to continue to get too hot. Eventually develop things like fever and just overheat. Can lead to, say, like heat stroke, heat exhaustion. Not good. Examples where this would be beneficial, though, would be, say, for pregnancy, giving birth. Right? So our body, it has a hormone that's called oxytocin. And what oxytocin does is when it's secreted, it tells our uterus, or the women's uterus, to contract. Okay. So say we're going into labor, we're starting to contract, we're starting to produce lots of oxytocin. Well, what that's going to do is it's going to start these contractions, right? And then it's going to contract. But what that does is it pushes the babies towards the cervix of the woman, which then it initiates the body to produce more oxytocin, and more oxytocin continues to lead towards more contractions until childbirth. So that would be when a positive feedback loop is what's called beneficial. But essentially all this, that's kind of the need to know about homeostasis. So let me get the board cleaned up and we'll move on to our next point here.